Alright everybody, welcome back to video number 4 in the tutorial series making a mobile application for behavioral science. In our last tutorial, what we did was we selected and named a project that we could use to put together our application, and that's going to serve as the basis for all the code that's going to make our application run and interact with people. But before we could really do too much with the code and experiment with it, we really need a way to test it and debugging it with an actual device. So if you have an actual device, that's an option. But for most people who may not have a certain size device that they need, say someone has a phone but they want to test on a tablet and they don't have a tablet, what we use is an emulator, which is something that runs on our computer and simulates how our app would behave on that type of device. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to start by launching Visual Studio, and I'm just going to quick show you how we could use our recent So if we wanted to go back to the project we were doing before, we could pull up our mobile application in our recent, and what that'll do is that'll reload everything in the solution. Now you're going to notice that there's a lot of stuff going on in here, and if you actually expand them out, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I mean, in Xamarin, we don't necessarily need to work on every single one of these at the same time. Usually you work with a main one, since it is cross-platform, and you just kind of fine-tune the other ones as you go. So since I'm not going to be developing for Windows, I could click on here, and I could say, why don't you unload this for now? So that'll just say that, you know, that's kind of in the background, but we're not really doing much work on there. And I would do that for the other Windows one as well. And load. We'll leave Apple there. Apple is a bit more complicated. If we want to debug an Apple project, we'd either have to be working on an Apple machine or dial in to another computer on our network that's Apple, but we can maybe go into that later. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to work on a Droid project, because we could run an emulator for a Droid device on Apple, Linux, Windows, all over. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this as our startup project, and what that does is it kind of tells us up here that we're going to work with the Droid one, and it gives us this little green kind of go button, which is going to be our way to send an application to a device and see what it does. That's actually my cell phone. I'm going to unplug that. So in here we say there's already an emulator that kind of came with, maybe I just did that before, but for now let's have you make a new emulator, and we're going to do that by going to the Android Emulator Manager, and that is this button. It looks like a cell phone with a little go arrow, and we'll click in there, and I got one in there, so I'm going to delete that. Yep, deleted it. So we're going to go to create new emulator, and you want to give it a name, say my first emulator, and a device is kind of like a size. So there's like TV sizes, old tablet sizes. I usually pick the Nexus 9 because it's kind of new. And you're going to want to pick a target. I tend to pick a low one, so I know it'll be compatible with older devices too. And then you want to select an architecture. Usually you want to go with the ones that say Intel, or x86 or x64. These are more optimized for your computer, so when you're debugging it, it won't be nearly as laggy. So I just shoot for having this x86 Intel Atom type of CPU, so everything just works faster. I don't usually have a skin. We don't need any cameras, any storage, any of that. I use the host GPU, so it's a little quicker. And sometimes there's an issue with RAM if it's really high, but I tend to just leave it as default. I haven't seen an issue yet. So we'll hit OK. It'll go about letting you know if it went through. And it says all that stuff went through. It looks pretty good. Alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit start and see what happens. We'll just launch it with defaults. Depending on your computer, this could be faster or slower. Most computers is pretty slow. We'll see this is the default startup screen for regular Android. And if you look in here, it's almost like you have a regular Android device. You know, if you have a touchscreen on your monitor, it actually behaves pretty similar. And it almost looks and behaves like you've got an actual Android device. And if we have this stuff on the settings, if you wanted to see what it's like if it was in portrait mode, it would do that. So it should look and feel like you have a virtual kind of device to play with. And you'll see once it's loaded up, you'll see there's this green arrow right here. And if we were to click that, that would send it there. But for now, that was our main goal of this tutorial. In the next tutorial, what we'll be doing is getting our project to send a program that we're working on to this emulator so we can see how it behaves when we click things and scroll and all that. So stay tuned. We'll see you then. Alrighty.